So hello, I'm Katie Donahue, Editor-in-Chief of Whitewall Magazine. On behalf of Whitewall, I would like to welcome you to the 5th annual Lexus Art Series Art and Innovation Talks by Whitewall with Design Miami. And to our panel today, Art and Design in a Default Digital Era, looking at how our engagement with art and design digitally has accelerated this year out of a very real necessity. So I'm thrilled to be joined today by the panelists here, and the members of Another View Collective. We have Lanika Gordine, co-founder of the multidisciplinary studio Drift, Evan Snyderman, the co-founder and owner of New York City design gallery R & Company, and David Rafoul and Nicolas Moussalem of the Beirut-based design studio David Nicolas. So thank you all for being here and welcome. I wanted to start and sort of hear from you all about just kind of like what your a bit new normal is like at this time. The way we communicate digitally has vastly accelerated today. So how has that kind of shown up for you in your practice, in your studio, and at your gallery? And maybe if we could start with Another Collective, hearing from you.
So for some reason we were prepared for the lockdown because we are a collective of 3 persons, and me and Tati, we are staying in Milan, but Robert stay in Eindhoven. So we don't have a real studio and we don't have a real office. So we are already ready for the lockdown. And we are used to communicate in between the countries and stuff. So what really changes is the possibility of moving around, because a big part of our work is actually going around for searching for location or like film, or to participate to design fairs, which was the place where we started to promote our project. So this is the thing that really affected our work. For the rest, I should say we kind of adapted to the situation. Also because we had a lot of work we did before that we can edit it along the months, now that we are not so allowed to go around so easily. So I should say we are probably on the lucky side of the creative world, that we have a way to get around even during the lockdown.
Yeah, a lot has changed, of course, for everyone. Same for us. We were traveling constantly, and this has completely stopped. And I think that also shows a light on that. Sometimes we saw that our life and practice and decisions were sometimes more also based on some things that are happening outside, and we have really changed in working way more from our vision, our focus. We already had it, but I feel this became way more sharp. And you see that without constant input from other people, you do make different decisions. And I think that is better. Of course, as creatives, we are here with a team of 40 people, and we started all from home. And then we saw quite quickly that a lot of things didn't work from home. So we started in smaller teams to work from the studio. And I think it became quite clear that some things do work digitally. Some meetings are way more effective, and you just tuck, when you just have to discuss some things. But when you really have to connect, you have to get to know new people, or when you have to discuss creative decisions, and physically what is for I think for artists and design, very important to sometimes see how it looks. You know, we started with doing that, like, do you like this material, like over Zoom? That just didn't work. So I think these are really realizations that we can work in a way more flexible way from different locations, but for the essential things, you have to see each other and meet each other. So we had to actually reorganize some things in our studio so that we could meet in safe settings, and we do that. Yeah, and we also see that we have a lot of young people also working in our studio, and they really don't want to be at home all the time. Like, everyone really wants to be in the studio. So we rather have to say sometimes, okay, now we're getting a little bit too busy. Let's, you know, but we feel very much the need for community connection, talking about everything that's happening physically rather than only digitally. So yeah, it's also bonding in that way when you see each other.
The summer was quite difficult, as you can imagine. Running a gallery was, of course, we survive off people coming to the gallery and doing fairs around the world. But we took immediate, action when the pandemic started in March, and really tried to shift gears right away, sending, everybody to work from home. And for us, a good deal of our business is done via email and otherwise, as you would imagine. But we right away focused on the website and on creating content to be able to stay engaged, because for us, the most important thing is staying engaged with the clients that we, outreach to, as well as the artists that we represent. So we immediately went into sort of the idea of figuring out new ways of communication, and we did a lot of outreach. So that was our number one goal, and that, I think, helped us get through those difficult months. And in the end, we organized several Zoom talks with artists and virtual exhibitions. I think we learned a lot. I think it forced us to rethink, how we run our business in a way, and maybe restructure. We spent a good deal of time restructuring things internally, which I think was a very healthy thing in the end, although be it very difficult. But I do feel confident that, as it set us up well for when things started to come back a little bit at the end of the summer and into the fall. We were able to pick back up almost right away and start to, really fully get up to speed. And we've been incredibly busy since. So I think it was a great learning experience. And so I think it was actually fine in the end.
That's nice to hear. And David and Nicola, how about you?
So for us, it was not that complicated to adapt, as we run a studio in Milan and one in Beirut. So we're used to working a bit far from each other, and we have a small team. We're about 5 people. So it was easier to handle than we expected. What was interesting is that I think it gave us a lot of time to rethink what we're doing and why we're doing things the way we're doing them. And David and I had a lot of talks and chats that we used to have when we were just starting. And these conversations actually are building up to new collections and new ideas you want to explore and new research. And I think it was something that we actually learned a lot from. However, the second wave is more of a pain because, okay, we've done the exercise and now we're looking at what everything that time just canceled and delayed and postponed, and we had to try and catch up. And after the explosion of Beirut, we had lost our studio as well. So we had to rebuild the studio now, and being apart, it was a bit complicated, but we're in a good state of mind, so it's very positive for us.
But also, I want to add, what's great with this thing of the lockdown, with everything, is that everyone is taking aware of their interior. So they really want to add furniture, do more rugs, do more buy a nice table. So they are focusing so much on their interior that I think that it was a kind of good side effect, as
business-wise. I don't think we were. Thank God we were not really affected, but I think it's important.
Inspiration, inspiration, you know. So we had this, the lockdown. Then after this blast, then after we see dark, we don't want to see dark things. We want to see bright stuff. So, so in terms of inspiration and tactile, I think it was important. It's important, to be all together as a team and to talk in lively. Always, the computer is a bit. There is a wall. That's it.
I was curious for each of you, given that we're digitally communicating in such a way, if you. Like you kind of mentioned, that were there aspects of your practice that you saw more of an interest from the public in the way that you were communicating? I'm thinking of, another view, your work just seems so relevant because we're all stuck and can't go anywhere, and your work really lets us travel. But all of you, whether it's doing things from the interior, we're thinking more about our home objects. I'm doing the same thing. I want my home to be much more beautiful. Monica, the work that you do can reach kind of a public arena as well. I'd love to hear from each of you if there was an aspect of your practice that then made more sense because of how digital we are right now.
Personally, the work that we make is very much about experiencing the work and how it makes you feel and how it can actually transform how you feel by being in that space. and to be physically challenged and also I think creatively and in terms of input. I think we have all realized in these months that almost the only input that we really value is creative input. If that's through art, through whatever, films, the physicality, this became way more relevant. And I think in our practice, we have realized even more that we really want to be this physical and not digital. Even that you have to think of digital ways of communication. And yes, you find it, but the physicality is really who we are. And if the rest of our life is going to be digital, I'll just really don't want it. You know, it's we rather find ways around to be physical together in a safe way than only exploring the digital world. But yes, we all were forced also to learn and explore the digital options. And I think new options became part of our toolbox. But it will stay a toolbox and not the essence and not the goal.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with what you're saying. And this is also one of the conversations David and I were having, is that everything is moving to something that is more digital. And one of the questions you ask yourself is, should I adapt to that situation, or should I force a change into going to something more physical and more human? Because at the end of the day, everything is behind a screen. Even that conference is behind a screen. But that conference wouldn't have happened if you're not all locked down, right? Because we're each one of us in his own country, in his own city. So there, I think communication-wise, there was a lot of positivity, a lot of things we were also learning that we maybe didn't have access to. But yes, we definitely miss working with our hands, working with the artisans, visiting people, clients.
Like
show.
just without thinking, you know, even traveling, like without just wearing a mask and this. But anyway, it's going to be over. That's for sure. Like it's not going to last like this. I think like by June, next June, it's over. Like hopefully, I don't know.
Yeah.
Everywhere, every day. No.
To what David was saying earlier, the people, you know, really need to, well, people spend so much time at home. And of course, what we realize is that we really need human interaction, right, to survive. And maybe in many ways, design fared better than other fields of the arts because we physically interact with the design pieces that we own, that we love, that we, you know, we sit on things, we touch things, and the idea of sensation, you know, physical sensation is an important part of what we all do. Yeah. And this is something that I think everybody really missed during the lockdown. And we've seen such eager return to the physical since we were able to, you know, let people back into the gallery starting, you know, at the end of August. How many people were happy to come in, of course, following safe practices and everybody wearing masks and social distancing. That was such a needed, you know, thing in our lives that it's actually, we've learned to better understand what we can do with design, I think, in many ways. And I think it's going to help everything grow when this does finally end, as you say, which it will, which is very positive. I think that's the good that will come from this, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
True.
I think in our case was a bit different because we basically were starting from digital technology. That was how all our project was started. So I think what we experience with our clients now is basically that what we are doing is kind of keeping in an interior door open to something else. So it's basically a way to keep the possibility of a different future open in this period that they are in lockdown. So I feel that when people are buying our window, most of the time people who know the place where we are filming. So people who are affectionate to the gallery in Milan or to the desert in Africa. So it's something that keeps them alive, the memory of this place where they have been. So it's something that is really connected to emotion somehow, even if it's coming from digital.
Yeah, true. It's like connecting the digital technology with analogical human experience that you can live, and then everybody would like to come back to travel and to see new places. That's why, like us in this period, Yeah, we are seeing that people who saw our windows in some fairs before are willing to purchase them now, because like this is the time of
Now that they cannot
yeah.
go there.
Yes, true.
Basically.
But what is also Marco was saying before, our windows need to be seen. So we also need gallery or exhibition that people can physically see our artwork, and then at the end, otherwise they can't understand it. They need to experience it at least once to understand what is it.
Yeah, our work is really what Tati was saying, a hybrid of the reality and the virtual, but also seeing how fast the world has changed. A lot of the pieces we filmed look completely different at the current time. So it's really capturing part of history, and it's strange how quickly the world can change, you know, through one event.
Yeah, true.
And we filmed a lot of crowded places.
Yeah, you know, like for example, when we were filming Galleria Vittorio Emanuele in Milan, it was February 2018, and it was all normal for everybody, for all of us. And then now it seems so strange to see so many people at one place without wearing a mask. And me personally, I really miss that time. And I hope that, like, yeah, the pandemic will be over really soon. Vaccine will come and everything will come back to, let's say, new normal.
Do you think we're also going to miss the time maybe that it's quiet on the street?
In some cases, yes, because we filmed, the only thing we filmed after lockdown was Rome. We filmed the Trevi Fountain, and we filmed because it was the only time in the history that you don't see people around the fountain. So the fountain became like a normal corner of the city, where people just enjoy as a architectural place, not as a tourist landmark. It was really funny to see. You just see like little couples at night getting around the fountain, no sounds, no noise, no people selling stuff. That was really like a unique moment.
It was in June, like just after the lockdown, the first lockdown. Let's go. So we went to Rome to film, and Robert flied over from Eindhoven.
That was a spooky experience.
No people. Like, he was going to Pantheon, he was going like to all the most famous places, to Colosseum, and it was literally no one, like the ghost city. So
that was normal, which is a nice thing, actually.
True. So yeah, maybe you're right. Like, where maybe in future, then everything will come back like to be chaotic and full of people. We will be missing this time.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Like 1 month per year.
Only, yeah.
I really
could be an idea, actually.
New York. I think in many of the urban centers, it's been this kind of resetting of the people that live there, and in a way getting somewhat of their city back for a brief time, where you can walk around and there aren't the hordes of people, and going to Times Square is like similar to going to the fountain, where nobody at Times Square in the beginning of the pandemic was fascinating and beautiful, but you could be in another time. It felt like the 1970s or the 1960s, abandoned streets, quiet. It was maybe a needed reset in some ways for people to recapture the city, and it gives that opportunity for the creative people to come back, to take over, somewhat of that lost ground that was lost to the money, the finance, the things that couldn't be afforded. That's what part of the people were hoping. Maybe things would, the rents would go down slightly. People could take over galleries, old empty spaces once again, the way they did in the beginning years of this art scene in New York City and other places around the world. And to some degree, that's actually happened, which is amazing.
Yeah.
What I also find interesting is that, when shops are closed and you don't want to stay in your house, you're going through the city and you see different things, because your eye is not constantly attracted by your phone or by everything that is calling you and possibilities of buying stuff or something. Yeah. So when you start looking at and interacting with the environment completely in a different way, actually in a way that is maybe more pure, and you start questioning also why our environment is like this. And I think this is the same sort of intuition that you also have when you walk through a forest. like after a couple of hours, you start to look at the sky, try to see, okay, it's going to rain, it's not going to rain. You hear sounds and you immediately adapt yourself to a new situation because we have senses for that. And I think this is a very interesting time to reconsider the world without the entire commercial aspect of everything that's calling us, all that, and not only commercial, but also activity-wise. Where do you want to put your time and where do you not want to put your time? I think before we maybe didn't ask ourselves always this question. There was a lot coming from the outside world just into your life and you just have to react to it. You have to deal with it. And now you can choose maybe better how limited and important our time is, and how the impact of the environment really shapes us as well, and shapes not only our time but also our lives and the way how we think. I think that is an interesting aspect that besides the digital, because there's of course a discussion about digital impact, but I think this has also, to me at least, a very big impact. It really shows us a different life and a different choice.
And it becomes more straightforward. There's something like, I don't know, you don't lose your time. Look, you do what, like, your decisions are more targeted. I guess so. I don't know what I feel from my son. Even with friends you pass time with, you know, it's like you spend time with, you know. So it's like time becomes more important because you feel it. Actually, you feel it much more now, and at work also.
Yeah, I feel way more what was a choice and what was not a choice in my life. And exactly what you say, I think I heard from everyone, with some friends you connect way more. And also people you didn't consider friends have become friends because suddenly you start calling each other, which you never did before. And other friends, maybe you don't really want to spend your time with. You know, it's really interesting.
I'm so interested to hear from you all too. Like this conversation is around really human behavior and how that's kind of changed. And I think it's been this chance to reflect on yourself, like you've all been saying. Has that inspired the kind of next projects that you're working on or the current projects you're working on? This kind of chance to reflect on human behavior?
I think for us, it has, for sure. I think just in terms of saying what we've already sort of spoken about in terms of the physical connection to people and to objects, and the need to do something that feels relevant or feels it has more weight than just a pretty thing or just about the money. There's more to it than that, and how can we dig deeper? I think part of that is having time to reflect on things that we've had over the last 6 months or 7 months. But we've really been building these relationships with people for a very long time, and we see those people that we have a stronger connection with coming. This kind of support system that all of us have built around us has started to come back, and we need each other to survive in many ways, and I think that's become more clear, and we have much deeper conversations with clients than we have in the past, and much deeper conversations with the artists about what they want, what they believe, what they hope to happen in their careers. All of these things that we were always maybe didn't have time for. These kinds of conversations have become incredibly important, and this will have a lasting effect, I think, on us as a gallery, and how we move forward. So it's been again great to do this.
Yeah, I think in our case, human behavior is anyway our interest very much, and I think we always reflect in our work on human behavior. And of course now the behavior has changed because we are all put in a situation that wasn't a choice. And I find it personally very interesting to see the patterns. That in the beginning everyone was kind of all over the place, non-stop communicating, and then there was a sort of, okay, let's just do it, let's reorganize. Then there became a moment of there's not so much happening, actually it's not really a problem, and then there's a problem back again. And I realized that in the beginning, like for instance in our studio, we really had tape and arrows and directions, where to walk, what to do. And it was very not natural to us, and even we didn't even look at that tape. And constantly we're like, guys, please, everyone, let's give each other space. Now, when someone goes to the coffee machine, the other one goes automatically. We all go around each other. It is already in our system. Also in the supermarkets, it wasn't before, and suddenly it has changed. I realized that last week. I said, hey, now we're suddenly all used to it. I find that very, very interesting, because it's not only what you notice in yourself, but also in others. And then everyone sees that, hey, we're kind of dealing with it. We can already keep distance. We have a form to say hello. We understand certain part of the world maybe better. We're already aware that we are transmitting diseases very easily through hugging and kissing. And I find those patterns very, very interesting. Also very interesting, what do you do if you don't know what to do? What do you do as a country if you don't know what to do? How do you get your information? All this has all been new to us. Before we were so sure, which also give us a mirror that we realize, well, how could we be so sure? Based on what? And I find all those shifting elements that our life was built on, that are now all in a different place, very interesting. And also, I also don't know, we're in a worldwide process to go through this and to deal with it and to find new ways. I think it's very important because actually life and development and going forward and evolution is based on movement. And we have based our lives on a very clear, stuck situation. And I think we have to this is the learning point. One of the learning points is that we have to learn to deal with constant change. So we have to behave way more flexible, way more, oh, he's going that way, then I'm also going that way, or I'm going around, or like, I find that interesting. I think it goes already naturally, but I'm really looking forward to see where we are in a couple of months. We'll probably have a completely different conversation than now. So that is, I think, those steps, following that, feeling it with myself, then noticing it in my environment, then talking about it, and then that this happens worldwide. Yeah. Besides all the negative and terrible things, because this morning I was in a taxi and the guy said he had to never mind, not interested. Just everyone has personal losses in this time as well, which is also very sad. But
it's very interesting, because in our case, from our side, we live so much in the edge and so much in an uncertain future. We never know what we have to do. We don't know if you are so stupid to live and to stay in this country, or we have to live, I have to say it bluntly, but I don't know if we are really completely to live like in a country where geographically it's not even possible in the near future that we have a solution. So we are looking for something, and I would say we want something that we want, like a normal, not normal, I want to say a kind of not normal life, no, but something that is just like with a normal electricity that doesn't goes and come, with the stuff that the government gives you that are like the normal basic stuff that you need. So it's interesting, because you have from a side that I know, because when I'm staying in Milan, it's becoming too boring. Everything is it's not perfect. So I'm like, it's too, like I need adrenaline. Then after I want to come back to Beirut, I arrive in Beirut and there is too much adrenaline and I want to go back to Milan. So there is, at the end, we become a bit lost. But it's interesting, because it's an everyday life, and I don't know. With the pandemic, it was general. So it was
also very interesting at what Lonneke was saying is that it's true that we have seen a lot of behavioral changes, but what is for us as I don't want to like speak as Lebanese always, but because we've had quite the year, the COVID-19 was the least of our problems. It was there's finally a good reason to stay home, because before it was streets, revolution. You know that the people decided the lockdown before the state, and the people automatically, we closed our office 1 month before the lockdown was officially declared. And it's just that we were run by idiots that have absolutely no idea of how to run any kind of crisis. And we had to, like the people, all the Lebanese people together did the social distancing. they took all the measures without even having any kind of fine or being chased by the law or something if they don't do it. So I found that to be quite interesting as well.
Yeah, but today the COVID is a kind of problem. You know, it's tiring. Like traveling, it's like do the PCR before to going, arriving. Someone don't want to see you. Even relationships, like it's or you should like say it in your like just live it and just make it the best of it, and it's okay. You know.
I think what Nicolas says is very important about leading. You know, are we in an unclear situation? We're all pointing and looking at the government. I think it's very interesting that once you already know that you cannot really rely on certain institutions that other countries do rely on, maybe you have to make your own choice. You have to stay way closer and check in way more often with yourself.
Definitely.
What you think is reasonable, what you want, and that's also. Well, yeah, I understand that it's maybe not what you want for your country, but in this sort of situations, where is also a global situation, it's I think very great that you can, you know, and did take those decisions by yourself, and you're used to evaluate with yourself what is right and what is wrong instead of waiting for a government to say that.
Yeah.
It's quite beautiful.
Yeah. You have to even this country we had to make our own decisions because there was the leadership in this country was not making decisions by any means. So another thing for us to hopefully look forward to is renewed change, right? Coming for us and for hopefully a lot of other people. But yeah, it really, you realize it's up to you. It's up to you, and it's up to your circle or your friends or your colleagues, you know, to figure out the right thing to do, because the leadership is not going to tell you from the biggest country to the smallest country, this is the case, right? It's kind of amazing. This is what we've learned.
I think for us is in Italy, I think almost everywhere. I think one thing that people have to reconsider is the beauty of having doubts. Because now you can see people always have a strict opinion about everything, because you can find validation for every kind of ideas online. So the quality of truth is really like not clear and not really like easy to get. So what I am understanding now after months of discussion about numbers, people that get sick, people who died, statistics and stuff, is that I prefer to keep doubt on everything. I don't want to take any kind of strict position that is not possible to validate till the end. And I think it's something that should be rediscovered by democracies in general, that you could be wrong. It's a good thing that people have to remember, because now you see that it looks like a football match. There are people that say that everything is a lie, and people say that everything is true, and probably the truth is in the middle. But I would like that people start to be more open to the idea that they might be wrong.
Yes. This is true.
And I'm curious if these kind of realizations or this experience too has like inspired then what's next for you, or how it's inspired what's next, and even knowing that we have a vaccine coming up, I guess, you know, has it inspired, you know, what your vision is for 2021?
In our case, because we had among the choice of our content for the view, we had a lot of situations where there are gather of people, like festival of a saint in Sicily, or the floating piers by Cristo and on the lake. So we had a lot of situations that you see a lot of people gathering around. So this thing for a while will be probably not possible. So we're supposed to film the Palio di Siena in Italy. You know, this run of the horse is a traditional part, yeah? But of course it's not possible. We have probably to reconsider what we are going to film. The only thing we have planned up to now, and hope it will be done, is in May we basically rent a hole in the wilderness in Botswana. So it basically is a tank in the soil, close to a waterfront, and basically to film animals like 3 meters close. So we rent the hole. We are going there probably. We don't know if we will be back, but it's the only thing that we have planned up to now. The rest will be a surprise, probably.
Yeah, and still we don't know if we can do it or not, because I mean, I hope with the vaccine everything will change and we can come back to travel again. But what we experience in our case, we can't predict. I mean, we wanted to go to film in Mexico, but it was completely not possible. El Giorno dei Muerti, not possible to go. Or now we want to go to film the big waves in Nazareth. For now, everything is locked, and we will see. Yeah.
But we are optimistic.
We are optimistic. Yeah.
We have a very big, ambitious project for next year that we're moving forward. This Objects USA show, which is going to open in February, which is has over actually 100 artists in the exhibition, 50 historical artists. So Objects USA was a show in 1970 that took place in America. It started in New York and it traveled all over the country and it traveled all over Europe. But it was the first exhibition around American craft, and sponsored by the Smithsonian and Johnson Wax Company. But we were doing a celebration for 50th anniversary of this show, which we're moving forward with, which will be a very, again, a really kind of almost like a feel-good moment for us and also for our country, which needed this, something positive. But the celebration of 50 historical artists from the original exhibition, and then 50 contemporary artists. So really trying to capture this moment. And then but this is an incredibly ambitious project, which we have the whole time to work on now, which is great. So that's our big plan for next year. And this show will be up, instead of doing 10 shows a year, instead we're doing one. And this will be, it will take over a big part of the programming for almost close to half the year, let's say. So concentrating all our efforts into something really important would be great.
I think plans for next year and also this year, I think what we mainly learned that before this time we were in a net of powers and you're kind of moving along in sometimes you make the decisions and sometimes you wait until something happens so you can react to it. I think we really came to the conclusion that we cannot really wait for others or be dependent on others. So we really have to make our own decisions fully. Everything else might happen, might not happen, like so many exhibitions were cancelled, so many projects were delayed. So what do we want to do? We're going to do it. And one of those things is, I think where we add the most value is, in our case, in the sum of the different works and bring an experience that is a transformational journey through multiple works. And this is something that we want to share with the world. That is our mission. That's what we find the most relevant. This is what we are about, and this is the best way to bring that to an audience. So we're working on that. We decided to not end with and bring to our team constantly like, oh, this exhibition is cancelled, oh, this project is delayed. No, we said like, okay, at the end of the year we want to have this concept completely produced, and that's what we're going to work on. So we build up to something positive, and at the end of the year we've actually produced something and done something with this great time. And on the side we still also sell work and work on exhibitions, but we have seen that at this moment we cannot rely on anything that depends on others. So that's what we're doing, and we're very, very pregnant of this idea and this massive project that has to come out very soon. And maybe it's not exactly the end of this year, but early next year we are ready. So yeah, I'm very excited about that.
From our side, Nico, okay, we were we are working on many small projects, but there is something that we are trying today to create new pieces. We are still in the process and to understand what we want to do, because we had these months we changed a bit our, we were on something before everything started, all the stuff, all the programs we're leaving, but now we are re-questioning. So we are in a kind of process. We have our request of furniture, usual ones. And also we have interior projects that are ongoing, interesting interior that will come up next year also. But like the main thing is like now is a focus on what do we really want to
the studio.
for the studio in this next month. So it's a bit of a lot of brainstorming.
That sounds super exciting, and I can't wait to kind of follow. And I love to kind of hear from all of you about this. Like, while this was a digital conversation, you were like, we're good. We're going to be physical is what we're looking at. And also just totally, taking it back almost to do what you want to do. I love the idea of the gallery having one show. I mean, it's just an interesting thing to just have these new models to really look forward to. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to speak today. It was so fantastic to listen to you all and hear you engage with each other. This has been such a treat. So thank you.